Hey, how are ya? It's JK with JK and Kim in the camper. Obviously, Kim isn't with me today. She's got a super busy week ahead in real estate, and to get her just to even have a few seconds to sit down and chat with us, it was kind of difficult, and I don't want to put that extra pressure on her, so here I am. We're in the Pineapple Princess. Just got back from a great epic trip, the epic 2022 West Coast trip, and this video we wrap up our recap of that. It happened in July, and of course July around here means hot temperatures, and we ran into some very warm temperatures with nowhere to go. There was a nationwide heat wave that blanketed the entire nation the week that our second week on our trip. We really rather have stayed on the coast where the temperatures were in the mid 60s. That would have been nice, but we were driving in 100-degree temperatures trying to get through southern Utah, and then cut back up into Montana, crossed into Wyoming, and then South Dakota, and then to our home state of Minnesota. So we thank you for watching, and if you've watched all the other videos in this series, well, God bless you. If you haven't, just go into our channel and click on them. It's the 2022 Epic West Coast Journey, and you can also read about it in our blog. We have had a 11-part series on our big trip out west at our blog, which is at www.jkandkiminthecamper.com. So let's get into the video, and thanks again for watching, and please subscribe to our little channel. Appreciate it. That'd be awesome.
We're JK and Kim, and we love traveling, exploring, and enjoying the hashtag Vanlife way of RV. With our fur babies, we could be called weekend camping warriors because we're still juggling several busy careers, but we're hitting the road whenever we can. Follow along with us as we enjoy what we call hashtag Vanlife for big people. As you might recall from our last video, we had gone through Northern Idaho, turned south, went to have some breakfast in beautiful McCall, Idaho. It was probably the last cool temperatures we would experience until we got home, and even then it was hot once we got home. This is July 14th, and no relief from the heat even as the evenings rolled around. Nationwide heat wave blanketing everywhere, the entire nation, so there was no escaping it. Temperatures still in the upper 90s when we decided to stop for the day in Eden, Idaho, a very small town northeast of Twin Falls. Kim had called ahead and made some reservations for one night at a place called Anderson Camp. Thankfully, their campground has a lot of mature trees lining the campsites, provided some welcoming shade. They also had a bunch of cherry trees that were loaded with bright red cherries, and yes, I picked a few. We quickly got camp set up, plugged in so we could run our Zero Breeze portable air cooler unit, try to knock down some of the heat inside the van for our girls. It did help a little bit overnight. We kept driving south along Highway 55, went through Boise, out through the prairies of Idaho, connecting up with Interstate 84, skirting along the famous Snake River towards Mountain Home, Glenn's Ferry, and Twins Falls. Now, if the Snake River sounds familiar to you, well, that's because that's where Evel Knievel tried to jump the Snake River. Yeah, it was pretty close to Twin Falls and the Highway 84. And if it hadn't been so blasted hot, We probably would have taken the off-ramp to go look around the famous site. Instead, we Googled it just to see what was there. Still some remnants of that 1974 failed attempt by Evel Knievel to cross the Snake River. By the way, Evel Knievel held the Guinness World Record for the most broken bones in one lifetime. That's an achievement we all could strive for. One of the issues with van life, with senior dogs and the senior driver, we have to make more stops more often to relieve everyone's bladder. Small gas tank in our van also makes stops for fuel happen more often as well. If everything goes as hoped, we can accomplish filling our gas tank and draining the bladders during the same stop. Most of the time it doesn't work out. But normally we're not in a big hurry. It's the journey that counts. You add in some meal breaks, photo opportunities to stop and snap some pictures, take some video, and well, you know, it takes a little bit longer to get from point A to point B, but that's okay for us. We'd been driving for a while that Friday, and yes, we needed to stop. The next rest area was in Lima, Montana, at the Lima Rest area. It's a town just north of the Idaho border and surrounded by rich open farmland. A little community, kind of interesting, right off the off-ramp to the freeway. There was supposed to be a Great Northern Railway historic marker somewhere around. Didn't spot it, but Kim spotted a painted rock sitting on the window ledge of one of the nice barn buildings at the rest stop, which, by the way, was very modern and clean and well maintained. Somebody took some time to paint this particular rock and put a message on both sides. They obviously left it for another person to find and then share again. So Kim brought the rock home with us, plans to set it out in our hometown, which the painted rock hunt is quite a popular trend still in our area. We began to notice a lot of thunderclouds forming to the north and northeast of us as we were heading through Montana. Storm clouds continued building, and the winds really picked up. They were fierce going through the mountain pass. We crossed the Continental Divide at 6,300, almost 6,400 feet. As we continued eastbound and down on I-90, the rain stayed to the north of us, and the sun through the clouds and the towering thunderheads really made the skies gorgeous. We made a stop again in Livingston, Montana. We'd stopped there before on the way west. Our plan was to keep driving until we hit the next I-90 rest area, park overnight, get some sleep. That plan came to a screeching halt when we pulled into the rest stop, spotted rattlesnake area, stay on sidewalk. Needless to say, we didn't park or even slow down enough to think about the obvious question, wouldn't snakes be up on the walkways too? The next rest area we came upon in Montana same rattlesnake advisory sign. Again, we just kind of kept on driving onto the interstate. By then it was really getting dark, and we kept on driving through the night, and it was close to midnight when we finally pulled off the highway in Sheraton, Wyoming, at their wonderful information center and rest area. You just get off I-90 on East 5th Street, and the rest area is on 2 levels just up the hill from the interstate. Most importantly, there were no beware of rattlesnake signs anywhere at the rest stop. A couple of campers, a few vanlifers, some car travelers, and truckers taking advantage of that rest area. It was July 16th. That morning, found the information center open and staffed, offering fresh brewed coffee for us sleepy-eyed travelers. Kind of a cool display of artwork in there too. The walkway around the visitor center gives you a panoramic view of the rolling hills, the mountains of the Bighorn National Forest, and the town of Sheridan. We're back on the road, trying to continue to get out of the heat. Well, we didn't know this at the time when we bought our used van, but apparently it knows where all the good food is and takes us right to that place every time. It happened again in Gillette, Wyoming. We happened to be craving for some breakfast pastries, and our van found them on Gillette Avenue in the downtown area. Pretty amazing, I thought. And kind of a cool town, Gillette, Wyoming. And we were back on our way, headed east again. This is an area where coal comes from, coal territory. It's also the location of the coal-rich Powder River Basin. There was large coal mining facilities, covered conveyors, power plants, and storage bins. We saw those from the roadway as we drove, plus the solitary oil pumping rigs with their walking beams slowly moving up and down. They dotted the landscape. And then another thing started to dot the landscape. If you've ever been on I-90, you know you're going to see a lot of wall drug signs. That was the first indication we were just about ready to hit South Dakota. We kept on driving, and we finally hit the Minnesota state line and the big welcome to Minnesota sign. It was dark by the time we got close to home. Dodging the cone zone in the dark was not always fun, but at least we were on pretty much familiar territory on this section of I-90. Took our freeway exit and turned the Pineapple Princess towards home.
Well, we just wrapped up our last episode of our epic 2022 West Coast journey in the van, and wow, that was a lot to cram into about 2.5 weeks.
It was an epic trip. I mean, what was it? How many states?
I think 7.
7 and about 5,000 miles.
Or dollars.
No.
It was great. I mean, we hit a whole bunch of places. We saw some incredible things. What was one of the highlights from your perspective of the trip?
There's 2.
Okay.
One, North Cascades National Park.
Course. Yeah.
I had never heard of it. I don't know why I'd never heard of it. Even living in Washington State for a while, no one ever talked about this beautiful park.
Best kept secret in all of Washington.
Don't tell anybody. Just go enjoy it.
Yeah.
Second, going back to our stomping grounds where we got married. I mean,
Ocean Shores, Washington.
that was the most emotional.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was the first time we'd been back to that particular part of the West Coast, and well, since we lived there. Yeah, when we lived there. What was one of the other things for me? I thought Oregon's coast was incredible.
That park was amazing too, that state park.
Fort Stevens State Park.
Just in the upper northwest corner of Oregon.
That's a huge park.
Huge park.
A huge camping area. We hit it just right for all the mosquitoes because it had been raining quite a bit.
true.
But beautiful scenery, and you're camping among the trees, and you're just a short distance from the ocean. It was awesome. And the other thing that was kind of monumental for us was the national heat wave that blanketed the country right around the second week of July, when we were told, you know what you need to do is you need to head down through Idaho and check these places out. So we thought, okay, why not? And we went to McCall, Idaho, which I thought was
really
that
neat
was
town.
gorgeous, and that was kind of the last place for cool weather.
Because we've never traveled in July before, we've never had to deal with heat before.
Right.
I mean, a little bit here and there on a weekend trip around where we live, but outside of that, we've never been on an epic flight. We usually go in the fall for those epic trips, so.
Yeah, and it was great because we were headed to 60-degree temperatures and cloudy skies out at the ocean, but then we didn't realize that by the time we left there and got over the hill, it was going to be in the 80s, 90s. There was a couple places in, I want to say southern Idaho, but it's more like
It was just hot.
middle of Idaho.
All the
That
way
was
across.
104 degrees on our van thermometer, so that was crazy hot, which kind of put us all in a grumpy mood where we really
I don't
wanted
do well
to get
in the
home.
heat. I don't do well in the heat. I get grumpy. Yeah, I really liked the I-90 road trip. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, it really was. Once you got to western Montana and all parts west, beautiful drive.
You always think, oh, the interstate, all you're going to see is just freeway. But like you said, when we started getting out west, it was beautiful.
Yeah, we usually are the back roads people, but we really did the I-90 because I've always kind of wanted to do I-90 across the whole country.
Yeah.
Because it does go from coast to coast, but we did it in a leg from Minnesota to Washington.
Yeah. So we would do it again. I think we would do it maybe a little bit differently, where we would build in some time to stay at some of these real incredible places like North Cascades National Park. Or
There's so much to see, though.
hang
It's
out
like,
at the
would
beach.
you go back to the same spots every time? I don't know, because there's so much to see. I'd want to see something different.
I think I'd go back to North Cascades just to make sure that I was actually seeing it the way it looked. It's
beautiful.
just unbelievable, the color of the water and
The video and the
mountains.
pictures just don't do it justice.
No, you have to be
it's-
there.
Yeah.
So-
It's breathtaking.
Anyway, we did the trip, got the t-shirt, and now we're ready to do some other exciting things.
What are we going to do next?
I don't know, we'll probably maybe go around and do a fall fun tour here in our neck of the woods, maybe an overnight stay, which would be kind of fun. And that's the reason of having a van or a small camper, is you can go find a place, duck in there, sleep overnight, and then continue your journey. So keep watching, subscribe.
Hit the little thing.
Bing.
Is there a bing?
I think
And then
so.
there's a bell,
Yeah, that's the notification.
the notification
Right.
bell.
So,
So if you're new to YouTube, and there's some of you who are,
mhm.
don't frequent here very often, make sure that you're doing all of that, because then you'll always know when we put something up. And we appreciate it. We just like sharing it with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you for watching. We appreciate everybody that is subscribed and who watches our crazy little channel. More to come. Again, thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.